Myoho Renge Kyo. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Hi, how you doing? I hope this finds you in good health and secure. Sifu Sylvain Chamberlain with you once again, Abbot of the Threefold Lotus Queen, practicing our school of quantum life, force, quantum life, Buddhism. Basically, this is an independent Sangha of Nichiren's doctrine, of Shakyamuni's ultimate teaching of the Lotus Sutra. And moreover, Buddhism in general, with a focus on Mahayana. Why do I say that? Because today's term is Hinayana, which in some circles is considered very derisive. It simply means lesser vehicle. As we read in the Lotus Sutra, several translations of the Lotus Sutra, there's a long-standing admonition to those who practice the earlier teachings with the simplified goal of detachment from worldly cravings and clinging. And although that is certainly part of the Buddhist method, goal, it is not the end goal. But as we read in the Lotus Sutra, in the parable of the conjured city, that was an earlier goal given to earlier practitioners, students of Shakyamuni's teachings, that took into account that these teachings were not easy at the time. They still aren't, right? It takes effort to do this. And, people got disenchanted or wanted to leave the community of monks, the Sangha. There's just too much. They couldn't understand how they could attain Buddhahood. And they were also working, Shakyamuni was working, against the very strong tide of tradition and ingrained thinking about, this was in India. Everything's about reincarnation and the next life. And he just couldn't shake them loose of that. And I think for all of his teachings, he taught so much about impermanence and anatman and so on and so forth that he had to have hoped that after a certain amount of study, that these monks would come to the realization themselves. But they didn't, or many of them, if not all of them, they just weren't. They weren't interested. They just were completely satisfied. And in fact, we read from the older monks in the Lotus Sutra saying, we're sorry, we're old, we've been doing this a long time, we're very set in our ways, and we just couldn't be motivated to really understand that Buddhahood is accessible right now in this lifetime. We just, we're lazy. We read this in the Lotus, yes? The bottom line is that all along, Shakyamuni was trying to drive it into our heads that we're already there. We just need to turn that switch. It's an ability you have. It's like swimming. If you got 2 arms and 2 legs, you can swim. But some people can swim the minute you put them in the water. Other people, whatever mental obstacles are in there, they have to be taught. They have to be proven. No, see, you float. No, see, you can do this. No, come to me. No, you can go in the deep end and survive. Right? I'm not trying to diminish those people. I'm just saying we all come to the realization we can swim naturally on our own terms. And the same is true of Buddhahood. We all have it. It's how our mind works or can work. But because of being raised in the Saha world, right? Little babies sticking everything they can touch in their mouths. How's this feel? What's this taste? Can I eat it? Very basic needs and curiosities. We develop our samsara mind of ownership, possession, control, craving, clinging, mine. That defines humanity in great measure. It's the reason we have wars. How insane is that? So, this is the distinction Mahayanists make, that if you haven't taken the great leap that Buddhahood is available to you right now, and you can simply invoke it, as the Lotus Sutra says, and as Nichiren certainly teaches us, that we, in fact, are the treasure tower, right? Those are the most important parts of the Lotus Sutra to Nichiren. He says it himself. The lifespan chapter, where Shakyamuni says, it's not me. Stop worshiping me. You don't need to worship, just instantiate, manifest Buddha the same way I did. You're no different. Just do this. Right? That's what the lifespan chapter says. And Nichiren realized, being the stubborn, samsaric beings that we are in the Saha world, the treasure tower chapter perfectly describes how to transcend our samsaric attachment via a mirror, a perfect mirror, a gateway. So he prepares this mandala that you see partially behind me to illustrate that entire section of the Lotus Sutra where the minds are lifted, right? The ceremony in the air. Your minds are lifted, your sentient minds raised in their awareness to perceive this gargantuan treasure tower, this stupa of the 7 jewels, the Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. With Shakyamuni seated at one side and abundant treasures on the other. Abundant treasures, you get it? These personages and these naming conventions, they're not arbitrary. So yeah, all well and good to focus on letting go of your craving and clinging, but if you instantiate Buddhahood, that just happens. It just comes with the territory. The Buddha land, unattached, wonder. Possession, not necessary. Everything is happening at the same time. You're part of the momentum of life. There is no separation. Oh, there's nothing to crave or cling to. It's all about having, experiencing. All right? So Hinayana. Hinayana, literally small vehicle. A coinage by the Mahayana for the Buddhist doctrines concerned with the achievement of nirvana as a Shravaka Buddha or a Pratyeka Buddha as opposed to a Samyak Buddha. Right? While sometime, though thought as derogatory, it means in fact that the Hinayana doctrine is made to save but one individual, the one who follows its teachings, just like a one-place vehicle, while the Mahayana allow the monk to take other people along with him, like a bus or a great plane. It's one way of looking at it. The other way is literally, as Shakyamuni said, it's incomplete. What we want is Anuttara Samyak Sambhavai. We want full and complete, perfect enlightenment. And that has to include others. The term appeared around the 1st or 2nd century. Hinayana was often contrasted with Mahayana, which means the great vehicle, right? The one great Buddha vehicle. We read about this in the Innumerable Meanings Sutra, the introduction, the prologue to the Lotus Sutra, called the great vehicle, the great one vehicle, myriad ways of saying the same thing, yeah? Early Western scholars fell into using the term Hinayana to describe the early doctrine of Buddhism, with Mahayana following later. That's academic, yeah? Modern Buddhist scholarship has deprecated the pejorative term and instead uses the term Nikaya Buddhism to refer to early Buddhist schools, right? Because that's the set of documents, the collection of sutras identified as the early teachings of Buddhism. So it's no longer, in our PC world, we found another way to talk about Hinayana because so many people took it as an insult. It's not meant as an insult, it's just meant as you're following an incomplete path, right? Shakyamunibuddha talked about the first 500 years, the second 500 years, the third 500 years, these different modalities, the lesser vehicles. He talks about it in the Lotus Sutra. Huh? Hinayana has also been inappropriately used as a synonym for Theravada. Although Theravada can be considered a Hinayana or a lesser vehicle, right? It isn't in and of itself, Theravada, a Hinayana sect. There are no such things. Theravada, which is the main tradition of Buddhism in the Sri Lanka and southeastern Asia. Yeah. Vietnamese are very much into Theravada, and we can have a discussion about the ills of that maintaining in this modern era. It's simply, anyway, I don't want to talk about it now. I have a video on this channel called Burning Monks and Other Things. If you look up Burning Monks on this, you'll find that video. And yeah, that's one of the things that Theravadists are somehow convincing themselves to do, which is horrifically not Buddhist. In Sanskrit, Hinayana is a term literally meaning the small or deficient vehicle, and this is probably the source of ire from those who are labeled such, yeah? Or small path. It's incomplete is really more true to the meaning. Adherents of non-Mahayana traditions were said to be obliged to adhere to only the 5 precepts. So that's a little blurb on the Hinayana. It's certainly by no means comprehensive, but gives you somewhat of an idea of what the term means. And being as that's not something we need be concerned about, other than even in this day and age, we can be assaulted by, and I use assault in the true meaning of the word. There's nothing physical about assault. Assault is confrontation, verbal, right? When there's physical activity, I call included with assault, it's battery. That's a whole different thing. I'm just talking about assault. Those who practice Theravada and other things, I've had them email me. Not very often, but somebody will take issue with something that I say, and so on and so forth. So it's more of a challenge to get through to them. And it's an opportunity for me to exercise my Buddhist wisdom and try to be a good bodhisattva in encouraging them to see beyond their limitations. But unless they want to, just like anything else, unless somebody is curious enough to check something out, I mean, I know times in my life when I've resisted things, but somebody said something that made me think, that I had to consider, and I changed my mind over time. Maybe not right away, but eventually, wow, I see what that person was saying now. I understand more, and I changed my course. So why not afford others that same opportunity, yeah? So now we're talking about being a bodhisattva. At any rate, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Thanks for listening. Thank you for your support, liking and subscribing to appease the YouTube gods. It's a bodhisattva act, right? Because it helps us expand the Sangha. And then all the links in the description, other ways, just purchasing an ebook or a print book or mandala. Great ways to support the channel. Vital for me to keep doing this. And patrons through Patreon. Oh my goodness. Talk about vital. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Thank you so much. Or through PayPal, same thing. Thank you. Please take care of your health. Keep your practice strong. Savor it. It's so special. All right? And it's yours. All of it. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.